Bonner's something different.
This isn't serving soup and leaving for the day. It's thinking about why that line gets longer and how that relates to policy.
Being a Bonner has meant that I get to share my story.
Giving my all to something I firmly believe in.
It means everybody coming together for a common goal, for something really awesome.
It's a community of people who are passionate about loving and serving others.
And I think that really transforms your service experience from something that's just something that you do to part of who you are.
It's just something that seems so right to do.
I mean, it's a powerful story of two people, you know, that grew up both dirt poor and both kind of have this, again, simple but strong faith. It was really important to Mr. Bonner that he wanted to be involved with people that really needed something. He had two things in mind. One was to help the person that was hurting, and the other was to displace despair with opportunity.
Mrs. Bonner was very actively involved both in Florida and then here in Princeton in helping other people. And of course the food banks came up early in that.
Mr. Bonner and I both worked. Nothing was given to us. We earned it all.
Mr. Bonner had, I think it was a challenging home environment.
By the age of 13, he had left school and to help out with the family.
Mr. Bonner was a real estate developer and had real estate projects in Florida and Virginia and New York City and New Jersey.
And he used to say to me that it's payback time.
I think during the Depression, he got hit hard. And like some people after that, you know, bounced back. But it's, I'm convinced that, you know, the experience of how he grew up, the experience of kind of going through loss and disappointment and failure and then coming back up. And then, you know, certainly Mrs. Bonner's story.
I was born in Egan, Tennessee. From there I went to Kentucky in the mining area. Mother had a restaurant. She also leased a building that was, she used as a hotel. 4 o'clock in the morning we'd open the restaurant. 8 o'clock I'd go to school. I'd come back at noon and help her at lunch.
And just the violence, she talks about a man being shot and killed in front of her, and seeing that and kind of leaving the scene with her mom, you know, in the middle of the night and getting the train, having to make a decision, do we go to Louisiana, to New Orleans, or do we go to Detroit? And she said that, you know, she had seen a magazine that had a picture of J.B. Hudson, which is the jeweler in Detroit, and she said to her mother, if there must be jobs here because people are wearing nice clothes.
She was working in kind of food services in Detroit, and that she worked at the Statler Hotel.
She was working at the Statler in Detroit, and they brought her to New York.
I met Mr. Bonner in New York at a dinner party where we both were, and he was with someone else and so was I, but he learned where I was working, so he made it a point to come in and say, "Good morning. Would you like to go to a hockey game next Sunday?" I said, "I'm sorry, I'm busy. How about the following Sunday?" So he said, "All right, following Sunday."
Mr. Bonner used to take her to ball games, to go to the Yankees.
There's a story where the doctor who Mr. Bonner worked with was examined Mrs. Bonner and came back and spoke to Mr. Bonner and said, you need her a lot more than she needs you. I think Mr. Bonner at that point was a millionaire, and that doctor, I think, spoke to something Mr. Bonner had already figured out.
She was definitely the wind beneath his wings.
I'd love to see him happy because he was so serious most of the time. I frequently would say, "Could I have a smile, please?"
And then 1989, Mr. Bonner calls me and he says he's hired some other kid to help him, and that was Wayne.
I saw Mr. Bonner a couple times, kind of in my 20s, while I was doing this, along with Bobby Hackett, trying to kind of rebuild a student movement around community service. But he was impatient about it too. He's like, "Yeah, okay, so what? So what's next?"
Mr. Bonner had a request to make contributions to Berea, which we did. Dr. Stevenson came up to talk to Mr. Bonner. He was so impressed that after a couple of years of making contributions, he wanted to do more.
I just remember when the conversation, the words, the Bonner Scholar Program, came up. It was like, boom, it was it.
Wayne recognized that you could sort of take the Berea model, which is a work college, a work model, and take that work and make it service.
We did the first year at Berea. There were 80 students in the first class, so there was just this huge kind of volume and, you know, creativity and chaos.
And Mr. Bonner was impatient because of his age and because he'd figured out, I like this model, so let's get going. And so 11 schools were chosen to be part of the second round.
And so there's this great meeting at the Boone Tavern Inn.
Davidson was invited to go, and I was there with about 10 other college presidents. And we talked about this, and this was really kind of right down our alley as far as I was concerned. The fact that here were going to be some students who had this kind of in their guts to be servants in the larger community.
If you invest in these students, not only will they get an access to education and do their service, but they will actually sort of transform both the campus and the community.
I remember distinctly, after Mr. Bonner's death, getting a call saying, did I know what Mrs. Bonner plans to do?
I had no idea. I didn't know what was going to go on. I didn't know if I was going to have a job.
And I said, I think she plans to come to the office Monday morning and continue working.
You know, Ms. Bonner came in and she sat down. She was like, Wayne, anything I need to know?
She stepped into something that she was completely briefed on. They had decided all these things together. She knew all the stories.
She, in connection with that, visited, my recollection, almost every school.
I would say to Wayne, Wayne, you can't take her down to 6 schools in a week and a half. And she'd say, I'm fine.
When Billy Bonner came to campus, oh my, she was such a magnet.
And they loved her immediately. She loved them back immediately.
She was a beloved woman to all the students.
It was certainly spiritual, if not magical.
She had the strongest, firmest handshake. She'd shake their hands and say, stay in school, graduate. That was her refrain.
We're doing it from the bottom of our hearts, not because we expect anything from them except get your education and finish 4 years.
The things we had imagined in our wildest dreams happening close to 25 years ago have happened, are in the process of happening.
We very much had this idea of that college students could make a difference in the world and that you shouldn't wait.
But fundamentally, the reason it worked is look what was happening to these students. Look who they were. Look at their backgrounds, the challenges they'd overcome to even get to college. And look what they were becoming right before people's eyes. And that's a magic of service and giving of yourself. That impact was happening right away.
I am able to use my education to make a difference in other people's lives, but I'm also able to use what I learned through my service in my class.
It's different because no one's there to pad a resume.
It has been this unexpected journey.
Everywhere civic engagement is, Bonner's there.
Bonner, for me, makes my education possible.
I really appreciate that I can be a Bonner.
It's actually shapes my career choice.
Bonner to me is Bonner love.